Empire.
Now that the dust has settled, we're going to recap the action leading up to the NFL's trade deadline and then turn our attention to the Green Bay Packers, one of the hottest teams in the league. This is the Football Jones Podcast. What's up, everybody? It's Mike Jones. Thanks for coming back for another episode. You can read me at usatoday.com, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @ByMikeJones, and of course, download and subscribe this podcast, coming to you twice a week with news, notes, observations about the NFL. And it's been a busy last couple weeks because the NFL trade deadline has come and gone, and now teams are preparing for that second half of the season. You know, just looking at some of the action on trade day wasn't exactly that exciting, but there was definitely movers and shakers in the days leading up to the deadline. Some of the winners, the teams that I really felt helped themselves, were of course the two undefeated teams in the league, the Patriots and the 49ers, not satisfied with where they are, wanting to make sure that they gave their offense some more firepower. The Patriots getting Mohamed Sanu, the 49ers getting Emmanuel Sanders. Now those teams already had strong defenses. Both of those wide receivers should help their offenses raise their game to another level. And it's going to be interesting to see how the second half of the season goes for both of these teams. But I felt like they really helped themselves. But there were some teams that outside of them, Arizona Cardinals, getting Kenyon Drake, a versatile running back, not just a runner, a pass catcher, was very important in their system. That's a big help for them. Other teams, though, there were losers like the Browns. They needed help on their offensive line. Were not able to get a deal done with the Washington Redskins, who totally botched the Trent Williams situation. I mean, they knew that he didn't want to be there. They had an opportunity to get a first-round pick from the Browns early in the season. They did not want to trade him. And then right at the deadline, they called the Browns asking for a king's ransom. And by then, it was too late. And so they were asking way too much. And now Trent Williams has reported, doesn't look like he's going to play right away. I'll be watching this to see if he does play. But the Browns really lost out here on an opportunity to help themselves. But that was because, as John Dorsey said, it takes two to tango. And they really didn't have another quality offensive lineman on the market that could have helped them. Another loser in all of this, Cincinnati Bengals, had an opportunity to trade away A.J. Green and get some capital for the future as they rebuild this team, and did not do so. Didn't try to work out a trade for Andy Dalton despite benching him right after the trade deadline, going with Ryan Finley. Hope for them, they hope the rest of the way to see what he's got. The Kansas City Chiefs, they needed help on their offensive line, needed help in their secondary. We're not able to get somebody there to help them. Other teams, you know, of course, like I said, the Redskins, the biggest losers in all of this, because they still might not get Trent Williams back on the field, and they are not going to be able to get the big, package in return for him that they think. They're once again overestimating the situation, and that is why they are the train wreck that they are, and this saga is going to continue to drag out. Even though Trent's back in the building, we don't know if he's going to play, and it's just a really sticky situation. Poor management once again. Stop me if you've heard that before. So anyway, now rosters are set. We'll see what happens here. I think that the teams at the top are even stronger. I think they'll continue to do well, although their schedule gets a little tougher for both of them, and we're going to see who the real pretenders and contenders are in this next 8 weeks of the season. One team that I do think is legit is the Green Bay Packers, and so that's why I'm having Jim Owczarki from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel on to talk about the Packers, give us his insight on just how exactly Matt LeFleur, first-year head coach, has turned them around so quickly. 7-1, one of the best teams in the NFC, one of the best teams in the NFL as a whole. And it may look easy, the quick turnaround, but there was a lot of work that LeFleur had to do behind the scenes to get this thing turned around this quickly. And that's what Jim is going to help us learn exactly what he did. Pulling back the curtain here with Jim as soon as I come back. right, and I'm very happy now to be joined by Jim Owczarki, a Packers beat writer, really knows his stuff on top of everything. If you are not following him already, you should be. Jim, really happy to have you on Football Jones. How's everything going, man?
Good. It's snowing in Green Bay, so it's good time for a West Coast trip.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Packers to Los Angeles.
There you go. So you're going to get out. You're going to get out okay? Or I don't imagine you get snowed in up there. They have all the equipment you need to get out, right?
Yeah, I had a baseball writer of mine give me a tip for winter traveling. He said he always flies into cold weather cities because they know how to handle snow.
Right.
He's you don't want to make the mistake, let me fly into Atlanta or Charlotte in the winter, and then when it like snows a dusting there, everything's shut down. Yeah. So, yeah, no, they handle it pretty good up here.
Good deal. Well, look, I want to get your take on the Packers. Obviously, first-year head coach, off to a great start. We knew that, they had pieces there, but it just seemed like they needed a fresh approach, maybe a more creative offense. And so far, it looks like Matt LeFleur is that. What have you seen? What's impressed you? What stood out during this first half of the season?
Yeah, I think all of the concerns and questions when Matt LeFleur was hired were fair, meaning, is he ready to be a head coach of a whole team?
Right.
He only had called plays for 1 year in Tennessee, and it didn't go great. So legitimate questions on play calling. So I would say what's most surprising, or at least maybe not surprising, but just interesting, is that Matt LeFleur actually is a pretty good head coach right now. I mean, he found a way to connect with the entire team, offense, defense, even though they did the model of, the Rams and, with the older defensive coordinator, right?
Right.
No, the defensive guys love him. And on a week-to-week basis, Mike, he's put together pretty good offensive game plans. You're not seeing the same sort of stagnant stuff week to week. He's playing matchup football, if you will. We didn't know if he could do that.
Right.
And I think we knew the bones of the Shanahan offense, and we knew that could work because it has been. It was just sort of this other stuff. Right. And he's been pretty good at the other stuff, and that also includes, of course, having the quarterback buy in, and now that's going pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised as well. It was 2 years ago. I mean, I know him from when I covered the Redskins. And 2 years ago, it was up in Seattle, and the Rams were doing well. It was right before they beat them. But I was like, hey, man, like, you guys are doing really well. Before you know it, you're going to be a head coach. And he was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And it's crazy. Here we are 2 years later. He is. And, I mean, even former coworkers of his were like, hey, he's very organized, very detail-oriented. But I really am not sure how he's going to do as far as, like, had that commanding presence of leading a team. How's he going to handle the veteran defensive lineman who doesn't feel like practicing one day? Or, those were the questions. But obviously, it looks like everybody's bought in. So how has he done it? What have you seen that he's done? What have you heard talking to guys that's enabled him to command their respect and also run this team, not just the offense?
Yeah, I think, you mentioned the attention to detail, and I think driving that message home, and the fact that you have defensive players sort of on the cliche level sort of spit back to us the coach's talking points. So whatever it be, do your 111th, pay attention to details, whatever that messaging is and how he delivers it in the meeting rooms, it clearly has seeped through, right?
Right.
Now, on a bigger level, I guess, he did what all the new coaches do, which is you kind of strip away the old paint, quite literally, and you add in new stuff. You wheel in the basketball hoop that hadn't been there. You bring in video game consoles for competition. You put pictures of the current players on the wall while still respecting the history of the Packers, but realizing maybe, stuff from the 60s isn't what guys in 2019
right.
vibe off of, right? So, or the music. And while that is all sort of superficial, I think coming in brand new, Mike, along with new faces out of the organization of Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, Adrian Amos, a couple of rookies, they don't know any different either. So they're coming, you know what I mean? So I think it was that sort of perfect storm of being able to connect with those defensive guys. Because I think offensively, that's where all of the holdovers are. And I think those guys just looked at the Rams and the 49ers on tape and were like, we're down with that. Like, we want wide open routes and 5 yards a kick. So I think the offensive guys were kind of in just off the scheme. Right. And of course, I'm not discounting the relationship building, of course, there. But I think that connecting defensively was important because it would have been, you're right, Mike, it would have been really easy to say, oh, that's Mike Pettine's group. He's like co-head coach of the defense. Mm-hmm. And what happens if, right? And I think Matt's done a good job preventing that thus far. Now, the one caveat would be they are 7-1. Right. So if this was Cincinnati, I'd be interested to know how that was going. But they are what they are, and so right now that messaging, however he's gone about it behind closed doors, has worked.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned relationship building with the quarterback. I was almost kind of nervous for him there as well, because the outside perception is that Rodgers can be a little difficult, has his way of wanting to do things. And then you have Matt LeFleur, who, if you guys don't know him, he's a very, mild-mannered, mild-spoken, kind of laid-back type of guy. And just how he was going to vibe with Rodgers, I was like, maybe because he's kind of laid back and knows how to massage egos, he's going to be okay. But then at the same time, is he going to be that commanding presence to earn respect? But it looks like they're doing okay. Tell me about what you're seeing and hearing there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think those questions were fair also. Because, look, even though Matt left the past and didn't really want to know, or at least he said he wasn't interested in what fell apart between Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, which I could appreciate. He wanted to kind of start from scratch. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that come across over time. So I think when, I'll point back to the spring when slowly building in the bones of the offense, which meant 2-minute wasn't put in, no huddle wasn't put in, the whole checks of this offense. It's not a old school West Coast where Aaron can roll through 15, 16 plays and go with whatever he wants. I mean, the system has, if it's Jared Goff, he has 2. Right. If he's Matt Ryan or Aaron Rodgers, maybe he has 4. But they had to figure that out. And, there was hard coaching going on. Like you would see them talk after plays in camp and slow things down and actually stop a play. And then, so you're like, wow, okay, you see them working through it. And now early in the season, Mike, I mean, television cameras have caught them sort of yelling at each other. And it was always after a 3-and-out. Yeah. And really what Aaron said, he's like, that was Matt coming to me fired up about why I didn't do a certain thing or throw it a certain way. And Matt says, look, I just need to know in that moment, like right then I need to know what happened and why didn't it work. And Aaron's, everyone has seen him yell stupid effing play to Mike McCarthy. Like, Aaron's that kind of guy too. So I think as it's gone on, they've found that equilibrium to a degree. I think it's still developing 8 games in, but the winning has helped, of course. And then now that the pass game is clicking, right. I think the quarterback realizes, hey, this is that offense I saw from afar the last few years that's now working for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, because like you said, you've seen it on the sideline. It's been very fascinating to watch. Anytime, there's a 3-and-out or, a frustration, you're wondering, okay, is this thing about to explode? But fortunately for them, they've been able to kind of, weather that early storm. They're rolling, winning games, and hopefully they continue to build. Talking about the defense, Preston Smith, how have they been able to get anything out of him? Here's a guy in Washington. I covered him since his rookie year. He was always a little bit out of shape, always, never able to live up to his potential. I think one year he had 1 sack. I mean, it was just a guy with great physical ability, but didn't seem to have the drive. But then he goes to Green Bay, and he's playing better than he ever has. What's been the key for him being so instrumental in their pass rush there?
Yeah, Well, it's two things. Yes, he got top 5 outside linebacker money, but he didn't get more than Zadarius Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not – I'll start with he's not the guy,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So Zadarius is the guy. And Preston has sort of – they've moved him around. I think in Washington, Mike, did he almost exclusively rushed off the right edge?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yep. Yeah,
so they've moved him around. So now there's some matchup type stuff going on there.
Okay.
And I think the inherent leadership part of you are now, the second highest paid player on the defense, and you were brought in to be a difference maker. He's really tight with Zadarius Smith. That friendship happened from the day they walked in together as free agent, like for their free agent press conference.
Okay.
So while Zadarius, when I say the guy, meaning like Zadarius gets that sort of attention on you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
But Preston has become a leader in that way in the locker room along with Zadarius. So, I mean, and Aaron Rodgers has said their personalities together have been sort of infectious. And I think the way Mike Pettine's using Preston specifically, it's putting him in spot. Look, he's almost up to his career high total.
Yeah.
In stats, right? So, I mean, I think they're just using them in spots that are benefiting him.
Gotcha. And so both of them, the Smith guys, they've got them on the edges. What other changes, upgrades have they made that's made this defense just, as disruptive as it is?
Yeah, so I'll go push it all the way back to the back end with the two safeties. So a year ago, they traded HaHa Clinton-Dix to Washington. They cut Jermaine Whitehead. They moved Tramon Williams back there at one point. Actually, one of their other starting safeties isn't even in football anymore. I mean, they were so victimized over the top with missed tackles, miscommunications on the back end. So they go out and spend top safety money on Adrian Amos. And what was funny, Mike, was, people were like, wow, they looked at the raw numbers. HaHa has all these interceptions and fumbles. Adrian Amos says they paid Adrian Amos that money, A, because that's what the market is when you're free agent, but B, to not mess up, to be the guy who's supposed to be where he is all the time, and then tackle people. So then they draft Darnell Savage Jr. at the end of the first round, Mike, out of Maryland, and that 4.3 safety speed. And before he got hurt, I would say he should have gotten some attention for DPOY, or Rookie of the Year, excuse me. Obviously he won't win that over a pass rusher. But anyway, those two guys on the back end, Mike, have really solidified what Mike Pettine wants to do coverage-wise and also in some run support. So I think that was the biggest change. So you got your pass rushers who are better, younger than what they had, but it's really those safeties now that allow him to play coverage with his corners and really, honestly, help those front guys because he can do the coverage things he wants to do, frankly.
Gotcha. Jumping back to the offense, Aaron Jones has been a big story. With the Mike Shanahan offense that LeFleur is running, they believe in running the football, establishing the ground game, opening stuff up with the play action attack. But I didn't expect that Jones was going to be this good this year. Were you surprised by that, or did you feel like he was going to be a good fit for this offense?
No, I think here on the ground in Green Bay, Mike, we saw this coming.
Okay.
So at the end of the year, so before LeFleur's hired, Aaron Jones took stock of himself and said, one of the reasons I was never on the field as much for Mike McCarthy was I wasn't that great in pass protection, and I don't think they trusted me. I'm paraphrasing here, but that they trusted him with catching the ball on a consistent basis. So he knew that, as they're walking out the door, 10 days before Matt LeFleur's hired.
Okay.
And so he kind of knew he needed that sort of self-improvement. So he went out and worked with professional wide receivers coaches, high school receivers coaches, anywhere you could go to throw him footballs and actually run receiver routes and understand how to do it. Gotcha. And now fast forward all the way to Sunday night, Mike, where he was the first halfback or running back the Packers called a receiver screen for. The 67-yarder wide receiver screen. And they called a slant and go for him, and he's running a double move.
Yeah.
So while he's not the smoothest catch, he's fast enough that he's open because it's linebackers and, overmatched safeties. So I think we saw it coming, and then I think Matt LeFleur needed to see it in practice a little more before finally just saying, you know what, let's put him out 5 wide, put Jamal Williams off Rodgers' hip as the quote-unquote running back, and use this guy everywhere.
Gotcha. So what do you think? Looking at the schedule, I'm really eager to see that 49ers matchup there. I bet you've got that one circled as well.
Definitely, yeah. And it's really, we thought the schedule, Mike, was going to be kind of difficult for Green Bay. But, no Mahomes. The Chargers are spiraling at this point. The Panthers in 2 weeks. Even if Cam is back, you're talking about a guy coming off of having not played for weeks, right? So, now it's that 49ers game, and then they've got Washington and the Giants. So they're in a good spot here. They honestly, Mike, they should be 9-1 going into the bye, going into that San Francisco game, and maybe now it's that Minnesota game Christmas week. So they're set up. They're set up for a real push at a home field situation.
What are realistic expectations for them once they get to the postseason?
No, that's interesting. I do think that while they have found ways to win and they are 7-1, there's enough in each of these games where you could see 13-3 bye week and Philadelphia rolls in the divisional round, and that's a problem.
Okay.
I think there are enough holes against well-coached teams, and it begins with Doug Peterson that Thursday night, actually, that other teams have copied. They have issues still in the middle of the field in their run defense. If they can't get a turnover, they're bend but don't break. Kind of maybe it doesn't break, but it bends enough where they give up some points. And then offensively, while I'm not going back on what I said with Matt LeFleur's really smart game plans and finding proper matchups, that said, what happens when they play only really good teams who can really devote resources to Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones? I don't know if we've seen enough from the rest of the playmakers to say, hey, you guys could score 32 points when needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't jump on the whole Super Bowl thing right now. I think there's still things to work on the back half of the year.
Gotcha. Even so, though, say they do go into the playoffs, they're 13-3, like you said, they lose in, divisional round. That's still a really successful season where they were. I know you don't want to be moral victories or whatever, but that's huge progress for a first-year head coach, having to kind of change the culture and everything like that.
Oh, without a doubt. I know Frank Reich and Matt Nagy did it last year, Mike, but I'm sure we could find a USA Today story from a year ago, how rare that is.
Yeah.
For a first-year head coach to do that, especially a Packers team that hadn't been to the playoffs in 2 years, that had to do the whole run-the-table magic 3 years ago. This was a really important year for them to win, to be honest. Regardless of what happens, other than the quarterback getting hurt, they're on their way to a double-digit win season, which is important. And Matt LeFleur should be better next year than he is this year, right? And unlike maybe Chicago, they have a quarterback where they can build off of this, playing a tougher schedule. You know what I mean? No, you're right. I thought this was an 8-8 team coming out of camp, maybe a chance to win 10 games just because of the quarterback and the talent on defense, but they're exceeding those expectations, and he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's going to be really interesting to watch down the second half of this season. Jim, we're going to be checking in with you. Tell everybody where they can find your work.
Yeah, 2 places. So locally, jsonline.com with the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. But if you're just into the Packers stuff, packersnews.com. It's our separate app, separate site for only Packers. information. Of course, you can hit us up social media. And Mike, it's always easier to say than to spell. Jim Owczarski, Owczarski. That's across all platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all that good stuff.
All right, man. Thanks so much. And hopefully I will be seeing you in a few weeks.
Yeah, it'll be fun, Mike.
All right, hope you enjoyed that there. It's really going to be interesting to see how things shake out for the Packers, especially with some tough games coming up. 49ers, the Saints. Obviously, they'll play the Vikings again. Divisional games are always tough, but I think they win that division. I think they make the playoffs. Jim said he wouldn't be surprised if they lose in the divisional round. I think that they can make it to the NFC Championship game. Early in the year, I picked Matt LeFleur. At our preseason rankings, I picked Matt LeFleur as my coach of the year, Aaron Rodgers as my MVP. We'll see how that plays out, but so far, so good, especially for LeFleur. Anyway, a lot of great games coming up this weekend. Hope you enjoy them. One of the biggest ones I'm looking forward to is Sunday night, the Patriots at the Ravens. Lamar Jackson versus that Patriots defense. They haven't seen anybody like him. We talked about that on Monday. If you missed that episode, go listen to the guys, Stephon Gilmore, Duron Harmon, talking about their defense, how it's come together, and the challenge of Lamar Jackson, because it's going to be a really good game, I think. Anyway, hope you guys have a great weekend. Talk to you guys on Monday when we come back for another episode of the Football Jones. Thanks.